Hi and welcome back to Joe's DIY. So today I have a DIY episode for my channel. We're going to be restoring dust cover for a turntable. Now I just bought this Sansui Turntable, automatic direct drive turntable, P-D-10. This is a very well kept turntable. I think the only problem that we have here is the dust cover is really damaged. Not as bad as, it having cracks or it being broken, but more in the sense of it, more in the sense of it having a lot of scratches. It's not cracked, good thing. I mean, there is a crack, but little tiny thing right here. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but probably won't be able to get that off. But these scratches are what I consider light scratches. So what I'm gonna do today is we're gonna restore this. Now here's basically what you need to restore any dust cover for most turntables. So what you're gonna need to go and get is some sandpaper to start off. This is a 3M sandpaper. This is probably the best sandpaper you can get. This is very common at Home Depot. I'm not sure if they have the fine grits, but I know that the finest grit that I found at Home Depot was 400. Not at least in this kind of packaging. And then if you do look a little bit more, the 3M does have the finer grits. This grit is going from 800 to 1000 to 1500 to 2000 grit. They don't come assorted. I just happen to run out of all the other grits, so right now I think I'm on my last a set that I bought, but you're gonna have to probably buy them separately. You're gonna have to buy the 800, 1000, 1500 and 2000 separately. But if you do other kinds of finishes, these really come in handy. I certainly do other finishes as well. If I'm finishing a guitar or finishing that needs to have a mirror finish, I'm gonna probably need to go into my stash of these and get that set up. So you're gonna need that, and then what you do is you're gonna put them overnight into some soap and water. These are all wet or dry sand, as you can see right there, wet or dry. This one's also wet or dry. So what you want to do is leave them overnight and let the water soak. You want to leave them some soapy water. What kind of soap do I use? I just use plain old dish soap. So that's been soaking there for a while. And the next step is basically you're gonna have to take the cover off the turntable. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Most everyone knows how to do this, but just in case, all you gotta do is kind of wiggle around the turntable. Sometimes the hinges will come right off with the turntable. Okay, so that kind of just popped off. And then you want to put away your hinges, because you definitely don't want to lose these, because that becomes another pain if you do. And as you can see, I mean, the turntable is in very good shape. I think the only thing that was missing when I bought it was the mat and the stylus, cartridge and cartridge mount. So but I had an extra one of these specific ones right here, so that was easy to replace. But luckily the screw was there, and also I had the counterweight and the 45 RPM adapter, so that was kind of nice. Go ahead and put this aside, because we're probably not going to need it. Okay, so depending on how deep the scratches are, I mean, there are a couple of deep ones, so I might just go ahead and do 400 grit. What I like to do is I like to use do everything by hand, at least the sanding part. And the reason for that is because as you can see, I mean, I do have a drill, and you could buy pads for a drill adapter to do this with a drill, but I've experienced in the past that these plastics can melt with the friction that you're going to be using on the drill, and sometimes you could end up gouging the plastic, and you're going to have like a ring or something on there, and that's not worth the risk. I mean, I like to use the drill for maybe the last step to really bring out that shine as I'm lightly polishing or buffing with the drill, but I do not like to do any sanding with this because it could damage the plastics. I'll just go ahead and start off with the 400 grit. With the 400 grit, you probably will get some milkiness, which is what you want. You want the surface to be flat once you're done sanding it all down. So I'm going to take my 400 and I'm going to start the sanding process. And just kind of wet it a little bit. Just make sure that the surface has a little bit of lubrication. You don't want any heat to build up there. So I'll just go ahead and start sanding by hand. Probably the hardest part is the corners, because sometimes you can either under sand or over sand these sides. So just try to keep it as even as possible. All right, so the next step is I'm just gonna rinse this off with my hose and kind of see where I'm at with all the scratches. Hopefully I got most of them out with the 400. Be right back. All right, so this is the result off the 400 grit, and as you can see, it's no longer see-through. It's very milky, and this is the reason why it's like this is because I sanded with a 400 grit sandpaper, so you're not gonna get that clear mirror shine yet. We're gonna have to work at it with the other grits. You might be wondering, why didn't I sand the back? Well, the reason why I didn't sand the back, I mean, I probably should. I mean, I think that there's a little bit of a scratch there, but the reason I didn't sand the back is because to me it's not really necessary. This is probably this part of the cover that rarely gets damaged with scratches. Because it's in the back, and I think probably the worst thing is sometimes you get a cracked hinge from someone closing it incorrectly, but I usually just leave the back alone because it doesn't really require for me to buff it out. I mean, I guess I could, but I really choose not to. And you'll probably also notice that I didn't do the inside. Same reason. Usually the inside is not going to be likely to get damaged. I mean, no one's going to put anything on the cover inside of it with it flipped upside down like this. Usually the damage happens when someone puts stuff on top of it. So I mean, this is really the area that we need to work at. If there's a lot of severe scratches that I would like to buff out, I mean I guess I could, but for me usually the area that needs to be restored is this part, sometimes the front. People scratch it with rings or whatnot, and sometimes the sides as well. So we'll continue working on that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over the sanding for the other grits. I'll show little pieces of it, but I'm probably not going to show much of the video because I don't think you guys want to see me sanding the whole time. So I'll go ahead and get to it. Okay, switching over to the 800 grit. Let's go ahead and start wetting it again. Okay, so I am basically finished with the 800 grit, and you can see it's completely milky, harder and harder to see, but if you were able to feel the surface right now, it's very smooth. We're going to continue working on the 1000, 1500, and 2000 grit, and hopefully we'll get to polish in a little bit. For you to see that when you wet it, you start getting that clear look that you're looking for with this dust cover. So even though it does, when it's dry, it does look milky and terrible, once we are done polishing it, you're going to get a better result. And it's done. 2000 is the last grit, so we'll go ahead and start working on that now. So as you can see, I've been able to remove most of the swirls all over the turntable dust cover. I do see a couple of scratches, but I presume they're probably underneath the cover, so I'm not going to worry too much about that, because this is not going to be my main turntable. This is just a demonstration of how I would probably do the top, and then if you want to go ahead and do this, repeat the same process for the bottom, you can. So here are the polishing compounds that I used, since we're going to be doing the polishing stage now. Okay, to start off, I'm going to be using the Turtle Wax rubbing compound, premium grade, clear coat safe, removes medium to heavy oxidation, swirl marks, and scratches. I've had this for a very long time. I probably bought this back in 2013, 2014. So I'm not sure if this is still sold in stores as you see it here. But I've used this over the years. I haven't run out yet, but it still works fine. This is what I use to start buffing, and then I do a two-stage, which is the proceeding from the heavy to the medium to heavy to light to medium. So this one will remove all the swirl marks, anything that I've left behind there. So this is basically my process. As I showed earlier, I do use a drill to do this part, but if you're going to be using a drill, you want to go very, very gently. Try not to push too much weight so you don't crack the dust cover, because that definitely would not be good. But you just want to kind of maintain it straight and just kind of buff it out like that. Okay, buff it out like that. All right, so now the drill is completely optional. You don't have to do this with a drill. I mean, you could get these applicator pads, which I'll probably use just to kind of spread out the compound, but you could use this, and this works all the same, you know, and you could just kind of rub the compound clean. You could do it that way, but that takes a lot longer, and we know why do it that way if I have an easier way of doing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use the buffing wheel on the drill, and I will just apply the compound with this. Okay, so we're definitely getting most of the milky surface out. There's still a little bit of swirls left, but if I just kind of clean it a little bit, you can see that now we have a basically see-through surface on the dust cover. So let's go ahead and finish off the rest with the light swirl compound. All right, so after all that, here is our end product, and just to kind of give you perspective, I mean, that is pretty much see-through. I could see a couple of scratches from underneath, but overall I think I'm very happy with the result, and we can even do a side-by-side comparison. As you can see right here, we can go ahead and do one final view of the project, and as you can see, it's basically see-through. There are a few scratches, but those, like I mentioned before, those are underneath the dust cover, which I'm not going to do anything about right now. But all the scratches that you saw before we did our treatment are completely gone. This turntable, I could probably turn it around just because of the fact that I fixed up the dust cover. I could probably turn it around and sell it for, up to $100 if I were to choose to do that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it with me because I am putting together a Sansui hi-fi, and this part will definitely be one of the harder ones to get, so I'll just hold on to the turntable. But I hope this video was helpful, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you for all my new subscribers, and I wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.